tonight. This is an unbelievable turnout. Hopefully the weather will hold off for us. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ted Weaver, and I'm a Clive City Councilman. Thank you. I was put on the council in 2010, re-elected in 11, and I'm up for re-election again this November. So, all right. So for those of you that are Clive residents, please come out and vote for me this November. For those of you that are not Clive residents, just a friendly reminder, we still don't have voter ID here in Iowa. Just saying. All right. And if we have a Des Moines Register reporter here, I'm just joking. Let me just mention one accomplishment that I'm most proud of in Clive during my tenure. And that, I think most of you are probably familiar with it. We got rid of the red light cameras last year. Many of you may have contributed to that program. And let me just say, if you did, officially here and now, thank you for the revenue. Because we definitely needed it. But that is the flip side to that issue, is that when we eliminated the program, we also lost $1.4 million in revenue over 2 years. And that's a significant hole in a budget of a community our size. So we had to work hard to figure out how to balance the budget, and we did that without raising taxes. We found other ways to do it. And that's what I'm most proud of during my tenure on the council. And I want to be able to continue that over the next 4 years. So with that said, you're not here to listen to me. We have a very special guest, obviously. And let me just say real quick that I am all in for Senator Rubio. I believe that we need someone in 2016 who has a vision, who is very positive, and who is uplifting. And there's no one that is better than that than Senator Rubio. He has a way of framing conservative principles in a way that that is articulate and appeals to the masses. And that's really what we need in 2016. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to my good friend Russ Trimble, and he's going to talk to you about all the great things that are Clive and why he wishes he was a resident of Clive.
Thank you very much. As Ted said, I'm West Des Moines City Councilman Russ Trimble, and I hope nobody invited the fire marshal this evening. We did allow Ted to put his yard signs up outside. He put a few, I don't know, maybe 12, so you're welcome in West Des Moines. We love you here. I just want to take a second to thank all my friends that are here tonight, family members, neighbors, co-workers. I want to thank all the business leaders that are here in West Des Moines and all the fellow elected officials that are here as well. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you coming out tonight. I appreciate it, and I know that Senator Rubio appreciates it as well. I also want to take just a brief second to thank a few people specifically. I want to thank my good buddy, Tom Hamilton, who's here somewhere. Tom was so gracious to volunteer to have this event at his house until the turnout got to be like this. I think it was that last debate that did this. So, thank you, Tom, for stepping up. I also want to thank Tom and Annie Baldwin, the owners of Wellman's, that agreed to allow us to have this event here when this got too big for somebody's house.
Oh no.
And last but not least, I want to thank everybody that's here that brought somebody with them, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor. Really appreciate you bringing somebody out with you to this event. And it's raining and I will talk quickly. Okay. All right, I'm wrapping it up. Ladies and gentlemen, and now, Senator Marco Rubio, the next President of the United States.
Very much. We've had a great day, kind of hiding from the rain all day, and I'll also be brief. I wish I could speak a little longer with you. I don't want you to get started. If it really starts to rain, I'll say thank you. God bless America. So that's a cue. I am really grateful to be here with you today. I am grateful that I have a chance to aspire to the highest office in the land, to a country that I owe so much to. This is not just a country that I was born in. It's the country that literally changed the history of my family. My parents were able to give us the life they never had a chance to achieve. And I want this to still be that kind of country. Now, I want to be clear, I believe America is still a great country, but it can be even greater. And the challenge before us now is to do what we need to do to ensure that we achieve our potential, because we're not doing it right now. Today, across this country, millions of people are starting to doubt whether the American dream is achievable for people like them. They feel that way because their jobs don't pay what they used to pay in comparison to what things cost. Some of the best jobs are gone. They've been replaced by a machine, or they've gone to another country. Meanwhile, everything costs more. And people are wondering, why is this happening? And the fundamental reason why it's happening is because our economy is changing. We live in a very different economy from the one I grew up in, the one most of you grew up in, and the economy we're going to have in the years to come. And the question before us now is, do we embrace this new economy and all of its opportunities, or do we allow the future to leave us behind? Because I believe, and you should too, that if we embrace the new economy with all of its opportunities, there is no reason why the 21st century can't also be an American century. I'm not going to pretend it's not raining. I know it is, and I don't want to get electrocuted, so let me pick up the pace. I don't mind being a hero, but I don't want to be a martyr. First, we have to modernize our economic policies. We have to compete now with dozens of other countries for the best jobs, the best talent, the best new businesses. And our policies don't allow us to do that right now. We have the highest combined corporate tax rate in the world. We have regulations that have cost us over $200 billion worth of jobs and companies over the last few years. We have a debt that threatens to cripple this country in the years to come. We have a health care law that's discouraging businesses from hiring people. And we're not fully utilizing our energy resources. But if we can reform our tax code to again become competitive, a tax code that lowers the corporate and business tax rate to 25%, that would make us globally competitive. If we had a tax code that allowed employers to immediately expense the money they invest in their business, so the more people they hire and the more they pay them, the less they owe the IRS. If we had a territorial system of taxes that didn't make American businesses pay double taxes when they decided to bring their money back from overseas to create jobs here. If we had these things, we would be globally competitive again on taxes. If we had a limit on how much regulations could cost our economy, we could compete with any country in the world in innovation and in manufacturing. If we repealed and replaced Obamacare with a law that allowed every American to buy health insurance from any company in any state that would sell you the health insurance you want. If we led the world in producing oil and natural gas, if we did these things, our economy would take off. And we would see the creation of millions of not just new jobs, but the best paying jobs of the 21st century. It would happen here, and for us, for you, for your children, and for your grandchildren. That alone won't be enough though, because those better paying jobs all require more skills and more education than the jobs of the past. The second thing we have to do is revolutionize higher education, because the system we have now is outdated. It's from 60 or 70 years ago. For starters, we need more vocational training. We need to train more young Americans to work as welders and plumbers in the construction trades, to fix airplanes and cars. These are good paying jobs. We need more alternatives to traditional higher education. Programs that allow people to package learning from a variety of different sources and take classes online and on weekends and get credit for work experience and military experience and even life experience, and package that into the equivalent of a degree. You know why we need that? So people who are working full-time and raising a family can get the degree they need for a better paying job. That's how we're going to help. That's how a receptionist that today makes $11 an hour can become a paralegal making $60,000 a year. That's how a home health aide that makes $9 an hour can become a dental hygienist making $60,000 a year. We can make a difference if we allow them to have alternative ways to acquire the equivalent of a college degree. I'm not saying we're not going to have traditional 4 years of education. Of course we are. How would we have college football without it? But I am saying this. We can't keep graduating people from college with degrees that do not lead to jobs, but a mountain of student debt to pay for it. So for starters, we need to give all Americans going to school more information. Before you take out a student loan, you deserve to know how much people make when they graduate with that degree that you're seeking from that school that you're graduating from. So you can decide if you should borrow $40,000 to be a Roman philosopher. Because the market for Roman philosophers has tightened significantly over the last 2,000 years. I believe if you already have a student loan, like I did a few years ago, over $100,000, I believe that you should be able to pay those loan backs based on how much you make. Income-based repayment. That means the more you earn, the faster you'll pay off the loans. The less you make, the less of a burden those loans will be. And I also think, by the way, we need alternatives to student loans, like what's called the student investment plan, that allows students to get a private investment group to pay for their education in exchange with a contract that promises to pay them back a percentage of your income. All of the liability, all of the debt falls now on the shoulders of the debt group, of the investment group that's taking the risk, not on the student. It isn't for everyone, but it would help a lot of people. And by the way, if we have competition for higher education like the one I just talked about, these alternatives, they will not be able to continue raising tuition rates as much as they want. Every time we raise aid, they raise tuition, and the result is millions of Americans are locked out of the promise of higher education in a century where higher education is not a luxury anymore. It is a necessity if you want a better paying job. If we do these two things, if we can do these two things, we will have an American economic renaissance. And the 21st century economy will be the most prosperous economy this nation has ever known. We have hundreds of millions of people in the world now that are part of the middle class, that can afford to buy our products, that can afford to trade with us, that can afford to go into business with us and invest with us. Think about it, we have hundreds of millions of potential clients and customers all over the world. But we must embrace this new economy, not be left behind by it. We must embrace the future, not be afraid of it. Other Americans made that choice. The Industrial Revolution was incredibly disruptive. But because that generation of Americans embraced it, we emerged from the Industrial Revolution the most prosperous nation that man has ever known. There is one more thing we have to do. It is the most important thing the federal government does. It is the one thing only the federal government can do. It is its number one obligation, and that is to keep our people safe. At a time in a world and in a world where we face extraordinary threats. A lunatic in North Korea possesses multiple nuclear warheads and a long-range missile capable of reaching the west coast of the United States. China, led by a tyranny, is taking over the most important shipping lane in the world, the South China Sea, as they hack into our computers, steal our secrets, and spy on our people. In Europe, Vladimir Putin is challenging NATO even as he threatens to split Europe in half. In the Middle East, radical jihadists are now organized in dozens of countries across multiple continents, and they use the internet to recruit people here in America to attack us and kill us here at home. And last but not least, because of a recent deal we just signed due to this president, unless we're able to overturn it, Iran is almost guaranteed to have a nuclear weapon in less than 10 years, and they'll also have a long-range missile capable of reaching the United States. These threats we face are significant. And without American leadership, none of them will be solved, and all of them will get worse. That doesn't mean we can solve all the world's problems. It means that without American leadership, none of them will be solved. There is no replacement for America. The United Nations cannot replace America, thank God. Nor can any other nation, for that matter. And so it begins by having the strongest military in the world. And today we are eviscerating our military by cutting dramatically the spending. The spending in our military is not the cause of our debt, but it will be the cause of why we cannot defend ourselves against 21st century threats. We must reverse that. By the way, and I see some veterans here tonight, and I want to thank you for your service. As part of our national security, and as a way to honor what they've done for us, we need a VA that cares more about veterans than about bureaucrats. I'm proud that as a senator last year, we passed a law that gives the Secretary of the VA the power to fire people that aren't doing their jobs. I know that shocks you, right? We needed a law to do that. Well, they've only fired one person. And don't tell me only one person's not doing their job. And so we only limited that law to senior executives. In a few weeks, I hope that we will pass in Congress a law that allows the VA secretary to fire anyone who's not doing their job at the VA, because our veterans deserve better. By the way, a strong national defense also means a clear foreign policy. One that is clear that we are friends with our allies, that we are firmly on their side, and we will not betray them in favor of an enemy or an adversary. And today we don't have that. Today, we have a president that treats the Ayatollah in Iran with more respect than the Prime Minister of Israel. Israel's the only free enterprise, pro-American democracy in the Middle East. If there were more Israels in the Middle East, my foreign policy speech would be a lot shorter. But there is one country in the Middle East that is firmly on the side of the United States. Free enterprise, democracy, liberty, and they're with us. We should be firmly with them. When I'm president, no one will doubt that this nation will do whatever it takes to allow Israel to prosper and persevere as a Jewish state. And our allies will know that in Asia, and our NATO allies will know that in Europe, and our allies in the Middle East, aside from Israel, will know that as well. And the world will know that America is still capable and willing to lead the free people of this planet to confront the challenges of our time, to confront collectively the challenges before our people. We know that American leadership can make a difference. It saved the world from Nazi Germany, and then it saved the world from communism. Now we must save it from radical jihadists, and a radical Shia cleric in Iran, and a gangster in Moscow, and a tyranny in Beijing, and a lunatic in North Korea. America must lead the way because no one will if we don't. And the lack of American leadership leads to the global chaos that we have now. So the challenges we face are real. They're significant. But this nation's always faced challenges. In every era, every generation in this country has faced great challenges. And every generation did what they had to do to confront them and solve them. And because they did, you and I, we inherited from our parents and grandparents the greatest nation in the history of the world. And so now it's our turn. Now the time has come for this generation of Americans to do what needs to be done. That's all we're being asked to do. We're being asked to do what the Americans before us did. Confront the challenges and harness the opportunities of a new era. And I'm glad, I thank God every day that I am a 21st century American, because we have a chance to be the authors of the greatest era in our history. But it will require us to act. I know that some people go around talking about making America great again. As I said at the outset, America is great. America is great. If you don't believe me, or if anyone doubts that, ask yourself this question: who would you trade places with? Right. What other country in the world would you rather be? There isn't any country I would rather be. There is no nation or no people that I would rather have than ours. The issue is not that America isn't great. The issue is that America can be greater, and that we're not fulfilling our potential. And each and every one of us has an obligation to do whatever it is we can to ensure, not just that we fulfill our potential, but that we pass on to our children what was left for us, this most exceptional nation. I've always felt that obligation. It's the reason why I entered public service, and it's the primary reason why I'm running for president. I say this all the time because I can't say it enough. America doesn't owe me a thing, but I have a debt to America I will never repay. This isn't just the nation I grew up in. This is a nation that literally changed the history of my family. When my parents were not born in the United States, they were born on the island of Cuba. When my father was 9 years old, his mother died and he had to go work. 9 years of age, he had to leave school and go to work. He would never go back to school. He would work for the next 70 years of his life. He had big dreams when he was young too, but they became impossible for him. And so his new dream, the new purpose of his life, became to give us the chance to do all the things he never could. He wanted all the doors that had closed for him to open for us. All the opportunities he never had for us to have. That was the purpose of his life. In America, he worked primarily as a bartender. He worked banquets in hotels. And that meant a lot of nights, a lot of weekends, a lot of holidays, a lot of days when I'm sure, especially in his 70s, he didn't want to work. But he did that for all those years to open doors for us. He stood behind a portable bar in the back of a banquet hall. So one day his children would have the chance to do anything they wanted, including standing up here tonight speaking to you. The journey from behind that bar to where I stand here tonight with you, to me, that is the essence of the American dream. And it's not just my story, it's our story. Every single one of us is just a generation removed or two removed from someone who did that for us. And whether or not America remains a special country will be determined by whether or not that journey is still possible for the people who are trying to make it now. At its core, the reason why I run for office is I still want this to be the kind of country where parents can do for their children what my parents did for me, what your parents did for you. Every country has rich people. Every country has famous people. And every country has big companies. What makes America different is that here there are millions of people who will never be rich or famous, and millions of businesses that will never be on the cover of a magazine, who are changing lives and opening doors for everyday people from all walks of life. It's what makes us different, and we are called not just to preserve it, but to expand it. That is the opportunity of this election, but it requires us to turn the page. Yesterday is over. I love the 20th century. The last time my favorite football team was any good, the Miami Dolphins, was the 20th century. But it's gone. It's never coming back. I don't mean the Dolphins, I mean the 20th century. I'll never give up on them. In fact, the last time they were any good was in the first Ace Ventura movie. They made it to the Super Bowl. Anyway. What was I saying? Oh, I'm already daydreaming about the NFL. But the past is over. We can't go back to yesterday, and we can't avoid tomorrow. And so the time has come to turn the page and elevate leadership that understands what life is like today, what challenges people are facing today. And that's why I'm asking for your support in these caucuses. The likely Democratic nominee is a leader with ideas from yesterday. No, not Bernie Sanders, him too, but I'm talking about Hillary Clinton. She recently introduced her college affordability plan. It's a familiar one. Raise taxes on people, take that money, and pour it into the same outdated system. She recently unveiled her tax plan. It's from 1995. We can't go back to yesterday. We must move forward in the future. And I look forward to those debates if I'm your nominee. As I said at the debate a few weeks ago, how is she going to lecture me about student loans? I actually had them. How is she going to lecture me about living paycheck to paycheck instead of speech to speech? I grew up paycheck to paycheck. In my 20s and most of my 30s, we lived paycheck to paycheck. How is she going to lecture me about how hard it is to raise a family in the 21st century? Jeanette and I are raising 4 children right now. And it's expensive to raise 4 children in the 21st century, especially when they blow $50 at the Iowa State Fair trying to use that little ring to stand up a bottle for some big stuffed animal no one ever wins. But anyway, if I'm our nominee, we'll be the party of the future and they'll be the party of yesterday. We'll be the party of the 21st century, and they'll be the party of the 20th century. We will be the party of the bartenders and the maids, of the people that clean our rooms and fix our cars, and they will be the party of the big companies that hire the lobbyists to influence government. That is the difference. That is our opportunity to speak to the hearts and minds and hopes and dreams of millions of Americans who want to believe and still believe that America can be greater. They just need leaders to show the way. That is our opportunity, and only our party can provide it. And that's why I'm asking for you to caucus for me on February 1st. On February 1st, this state has an extraordinary role to play. You will be the first step in the process of electing the next president. And the good news is it means the end of 8 years of Barack Obama. And the opportunity for us to begin to answer the question of what comes next for America. And here's what can come next if we are willing to do what it takes. The most extraordinary economic revival this nation has ever known. The safest and most prosperous era in the history of the world. The freest people that have ever walked this planet. A new American century. And the ability to leave for our children not a country as great as the one that was left to us, but a country that's even greater. I need your help. I thank you for braving the clouds and the sprinkle, and I look forward to seeing all of you again. God bless you. Thank you so much.